this young man here has been a fantastic supporter of the London Burning podcast. He's been and also supported every single reunion of London Burning that we played. And what made you do it?
Well, good afternoon everyone, good to see some old faces here.
Yay.
Well, for those of you who don't know, those of you who did, I played Glenn the Fireman, George the Fireman's brother-in-law, Les, part of the double act with Denzel, and we've been in series 4. And then in series 7. Series 4, we had the wedding, which involved me literally getting punched in the face, having struck the best man in the wedding presents. It's just been nice to reminisce with Ben about those times in that cast. And then came back for series 7 and had such wonderful things as the piano sequence, the burger van fire, and the big fight in the hospital, where this time I didn't get punched. And then I eventually came back as a totally different character after Paul Knight had left. I played a first aider, ambulance man, which was weird because a lot of the old cast were there, the old crew were there, but nobody knew, so I took the money and did the job.
Has anybody got any questions for Nicholas? Any advance? Going? Go. Okay. Thank you very much, Nicholas. Thank you. Hi, Valerie. Nice to see you. Hi. Just tell me who you played and what made you join the cast of London Burning.
I play Claire, who's married to Bailey. I joined in series 2 and left in series 8. So I was there for quite a while. I sort of started off as girlfriend, and eventually, I think probably in series 7 or something, we actually managed to get married. I think he sort of proposed, and I said yes. Why did I do it? Well, went for the interview, got cast, and I'm not likely to turn something like that down. So. That's the reason why. It was great fun. Had a lovely husband, sadly no longer with us, but cast and crew were great. We all had a great time. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs. What else? Nothing much else. It was great to do, and who would turn that down? So yes, we hung out until series 8. I think Jimmy wanted to leave a bit before, but I think he was given me a chance of directing a few of the episodes. So I think from sort of series 6, 7, 8, he directed a few, which kept him on, thank goodness. I hung on with him. And then at the end, we opened up a restaurant down by the sea after being sort of ripped off by my wicked cousin Trevor, was it his name? Yeah. Trevor, yes, wicked cousin Trevor.
That's a song, boy, wasn't it?
Well, and so we had to cut our losses and went through a sort of thing of the builders not being paid. I think one of the builders was Barry from EastEnders. I only saw him in EastEnders. I thought, that's our builder who didn't get paid. So that was the end of it really. We opened up the restaurant, everyone came down for the big opening, and that was my final scene, apart from I came back for Hallam's funeral in Series 9, so that was it. Yes. There you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did have to. I mean, there was never any stand-in. He just sort of, I think he relied a lot on the cameraman.
Right.
I think he sort of knew, the cameraman knew what he
I've
wanted.
always fascinated by that.
Yes,
An
with being an actor and a
directing
director.
a scene that they're in.
Yeah.
And
Yes, excuse me.
Hold on, I'll do this. And then I'll do that.
Get out of bed, get out of bed, get into bed.
I won't get unclothed and then I'll stand behind the monitor. I'll be there. It must be quite.
Yeah, because it was all filmed, so it wasn't like now where you can sort of, it's all digital.
Yeah,
It was all on film. Exactly, you could have gone straight back in to have a look at it.
Yes.
Now, but of course then,
it was a different.
you had to wait for rushes, so if it went wrong. It never did, of course. Yeah, that was, yeah.
Jimmy Hayes. Let's have a round of applause for Jimmy Hayes.
Yesterday was his birthday. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story about Jimmy Hazeldean. He was always far more impressed about his career being on the opening reel of a football show where they'd have celebs playing football, and he scored this cracking goal in Kennedy. And it was on, so he got a little repeat every time it was shown. And he was so much more thrilled about having a brilliant goal he scored on telly than all the fantastic stuff he did.
He's a big Man U supporter.
Jimmy Hazeldean, he was great. He was great.
Yeah.
He was a lovely friend.
That was the first thing he asked me, what team do you support? I said, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Valerie.
Yourself so many times. So, yeah, hi, I'm Jenny. I played Marion 1. In series 2. Adam knows more than me. And I came back as the ex-wife to Mark, to Vaseline. Tried to, under the auspices of him owing me money, I meet his current wife, who's in a bit of a state, and she's just had a baby, or she was pregnant, I can't quite remember. And and so I sort of inveigled myself into staying there, and then plotted to try and destroy their marriage and get him back. Seducing him one night as he rather clumsily got into the wrong bed. Let's remember his name was Vaseline. He's slipping around everywhere. So I then befriended his wife, tried to break them up, but actually what it did was actually bring them closer together. And I was there until the sad death of Vaseline and of Roland. And at the end of the series, Kath revealed that I told her that I was pregnant, and I had hoped that that might continue into the next series, but it didn't. So I suppose I was a bit of a bitch from hell in a way, but it was quite a comedy storyline at the same time, and I really loved doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, has anyone got any questions for Jenny?
The reason that I took the job was because I got offered it at the interview, which doesn't happen anymore. So when I went to the interview, the producer said to me, that was great to meet you. I said, great to meet you too. He said, what are you doing on May the 19th? I said, I don't know. He said, good, because you'll be here. That doesn't happen anymore. So that's the main reason I took the job, was to be offered it on the spot. How could I say no? And I also knew Mark a little bit. I didn't know him terribly well, but I knew him a little bit. So going into work with someone that I knew made it a bit easier, less scary. Because it is quite scary going in on a big successful TV series, and you're coming in and you know really only for one series, and you've got a really good story. But it's still nerve-wracking because you think everybody else is so famous, and you feel like you're going in and working with the stars, which I was, actually, to be fair. So, round of applause for the cast.
Yeah.
The regulars who made us a great show. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Thank you. For Karen MacDonald, please. Thank you. Now this young chap here, he didn't exactly last very long, and even though he was in the movie, I Love Is Burning, right? But he played a big part in there, so Gary, just tell me how you managed to get cast and why they chose you. Did you like the first one to be killed off?
Well, that's quite funny, really, because as you do as an actor, you just go up for a role and you audition. And at that point, I didn't have any scripts, so I just had like sides and stuff, and they talked to me about it. Anyway, they cast me, which was great, you know. And I'm doing it, and then I've got the script, and I've read the script. And now this is for the pilot, obviously. I didn't make the series, as most of you know. So anyway, they cast me as in the pilot. I'm read the script, and I'm like, it's my story. It's me, fireman. What's my name? Fireman Lewis. What's the first name? What's the first name? You don't know that? You don't know. I call him David, but he had a nickname, was ethnic. Fireman Nick David. Lewis, yeah? Yeah, cool. He knows everything. So anyway, I get cast and I look at it. It's my story and the female character's main story in the pilot. But I get killed at the end of it. And at that point, you didn't know there was going to be a series that was happy days. You know what I mean? I'm the lead in this thing, and it's my story. Great. But then it goes to the series. And I'm not in it, and they start saying, yeah, great. The producer says, don't worry about it, girl. I'm going to get you in it. We're going to bring you back. We're going to start it all over again. You know, we're going to get you back in there. And then Dallas is on, and then Bobby walks out of the shower after dying. So that could put my aspirations, and I never made it to the series. But it was fun, but I did enjoy doing it, and that's so much love. I was saying to Mark as we came in, I always remember that the wedding, and when he was getting married to Marion 1. And when we were there in the church, and literally, when they say his full name, was it Roland something or another? But he has a middle name as well, didn't it? Was it Roland something or another? Anyway, we literally, Roland something or another, but it was quirky, and we literally burst out laughing, coursing all over the place. It was fun. It's a beautiful memory of that show. It was so much fun to do, and all the fireman stuff. Because we actually at that time, I don't know if they did it afterwards, but we trained for about 2 weeks, and you had to go like a couple of days. Was actually being on a real fire station and staying there. I was at Clapham Fire Station, and then you had a couple of shouts, and you went out, you stayed overnight, and you went out on a couple of shouts. And I had one shout that seemed pretty dramatic. We get there, it's an old woman's in this house. It was pissing out with water. We went out with the shit, man. It looks like she must be drowning, coming through the doors and everything. Kicked the doors down, and she was watching TV, and it was just the bath that was just overflowing. So it wasn't as dramatic. Well, we didn't want it to be any worse than that, but that was my experience on the show. The whole show was fantastic. It was great to do, and I think that was about it, really. My memories of that show.
Okay, thank you, Gary. So has anyone got any questions for Gary?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Gary, when you was in the pilot film of London's Burning, how did you feel when it was like a racist area and everything else?
You mean in the show, you mean?
Yeah, in the show, with the flags, because you went to save a few people, and you went to save Charisma for getting hurt.
Oh God, Jesus, I forgot about that. Oh, right, you mean in the story? Yes.
Sorry.
How did I actually feel?
I was near to your death, sorry, but
yeah. No.
But yeah.
I mean, at the time when we were doing it, obviously you're acting, it's in a film, so you're not. So the actual enormity of it, but because it was all around a lot of the times, which was the feeling of repression around all of that at that particular time in the 80s with the police and stuff like that. So it was right on the spot when it was happening. So, but personally, because you know you're acting and the crew's really great, and it was amazing working with Charisma. Who was Charisma? Gerard, that's it. Gerard Horan. So Gerard Horan, who was fantastic, he gave so much in that scene that, you know, I get killed, but his emotion in that scene really helped the scene unfold, you know, so it was a great experience. And it wasn't, I mean, all throughout the show, it was me and Vaseline having a lot of banter and all that, and, well, and we had so much fun doing it, and on screen we had this thing that was going on which was exciting to play. So, you know, it was all in all a great time.
I felt it. And in the pilot episode, you had to hide that you were a fireman. Why was that? I know in the show. Was it like we had to be a fireman back in the day?
No, what it was is because on the estate,
yeah,
it was predominantly almost like a predominantly black estate.
Yeah.
And I'm living on that estate. And, you know, there was all this thing about the blacks and the police. So, because when my uniform was similar to police, I'm trying to keep it so that they don't realise that I'm a policeman. That was basically it, you know, just to sort of hide my identity. Because all the bad kids and bad guys in around this, they just thought I was a copper, and that's inevitably why I probably got it in the end. Is that it?
Any more questions for Gary? No? Okay, thank you very much, Gary. Thank you. And can I have Mark Arden, please? Now bring it up for Mark Arden. Now we've already had the first person to be killed off in the movie. Now we've got the first person to be killed off of the series, of the TV series. So Mark,
Yes.
can you tell me how you managed to get cast and why?
Why? Question you ask yourself every time you get a job. Why? But that was a thrilling job to get, as Gary said. It was, you know, you're young actors, you know that this is going to be some kind of groundbreaking show, which it was. Which is why you being here means it meant a lot to so many people. Firstly, it was, you know, depicting a profession that never really been done before. But so you knew right from the start that this is an interesting casting. You know, your agent's saying, yeah, it's a film, which is great because you're going to do a film. We turned up, as Gary said, there were no real scripts written, just, you know, improvising, seeing if you bounced off other people. Eventually, they whittled the whole cast down to us bunch, the original Blue Watch. You've got Jerome Flynn who was in it, you know? You don't know what happened to him, no idea. So Jerome, you know, we were mucking around doing some improv and stuff, and he's a northerner, you know Jerome, don't you? So we were doing some improvisation around the table. Not all of us, but you know, there'd be 2 or 3, then you'd be asked back again, then there'd be someone else, and then there'd be Gary and myself there and someone else, and then it'll be, you know, one of the cast, Rupert Baker would suddenly be, and in the end, they got their Blue Watch. But one day we were doing some improv, and someone said about something about a cup of Rosie, having a cup of Rosie Lee, yeah? A nice cup of Rosie Lee. And so Jerome, he didn't quite get this, and he kept on saying, so how do I know she's called Rosie? And we all went, yeah, nice, yeah, can we get on with it? And he kept on doing this thing, because we had some sort of sides. And he kept on saying, so do I know, is she going to be in it? Is she? He was a northerner. He didn't know. He said, no, it's Cockney rhyming slang. Anyway, made us laugh, because, so we always ribbed him about that. Now, of course, Jerome, he never came back, so when we actually got the series afterwards, it was you know, there was Trev Etienne was suddenly there. And gradually, you know, this little thing that was just this wonderful one-off film suddenly became a bit of an institution, didn't it? You know, and I was saying to Gary, he died. Typical actor, didn't read his script. Should have read it to the end. He didn't was get killed off. Too lazy. Oh, come on, look, I've got this part. Read it to the end. Always do that. Imagine what I felt like when I got that script. Hey, I get what? I'm getting what? I'm getting drowned. A bit ironic, isn't it? Real fun. So I ended up drowning, didn't I? Now that was a bit of a shock because, and I would tell these guys, because we're all friends here, all right? I'll let you into little ratings. Now, Ed, I know you've got things going on. You know you're doing this, you're doing that. And I've got this series, right? It's all going to be set. You're a sort of you're a private eye, and you know we'll get your mate, Steve, you know the bloke you do the double act with. He'll be the other. And he genuinely, you know, he got all the scripts and stuff. And then the writer decides that he doesn't want me or Steve. He's insisting he wants Ray Winston. Right? He wants Ray Winston to play the part that I'm thinking, oh, it's great, I'm going to series myself. This is what it's like as an actor. And in the end, so because Paul Knight didn't have the power or the authority to sort of say, no, I'm going to overrule the writer, they went ahead and made it. And Gerard Horan, charisma, he ended up playing the seed part, the kind of sidekick, and Ray Winston played the what's it, and that pilot never went anywhere. So they made it, and no one knows it even exists because it didn't work out. That's my sob story. No, but that's the kind of life of an actor. That's what happens. But yeah, we had, I mean, marvelous, great memories, fantastic. Just seeing, just chatting here. It's brilliant. It all comes back, but you forget how many decades have gone by. There's people like you that keep it alive, which is brilliant. Because you genuinely love it, don't you?
Yeah. One of the best shows going.
It was, wasn't it? And especially, I mean, that original film was really hitting some contentious issues of the day. And probably, if you think about it now, if they remade it now, of course, all the special effects and things would be, but you could possibly do that same storyline, and it wouldn't be far removed from. So not a lot's changed, has it? Really, it's a bit of a shame. Anyway, a bit of politics.
No more paraffin heaters. No more paraffin heaters.
Oh yeah, they've gone. Yeah. So there you go. Anyone want to ask me about anything apart from hello?
Which one, the marriage, did you like?
We've got unfinished business.
I've got a baby he doesn't know about.
How old?
Marion won you there.
Yeah, no, I shudder. Whenever I meet a Marion, and I have done, I always have a little shudder. I mean, it's true. Not never Marion in my life. They were all lovely. I can't remember the third one. Oh, I never knew the original one.
No, I was Marion 1. We never met Marion 2, and Helen Blizzard was the third Marion.
We never met number 2.
Number 2. The joke was he got married 3 times and they were all called Marion.
No, I did a spin-off series with Marion 2. Did you not see it? It's a lovely sitcom. It's very funny.
Married and me, it's called
Even when you got your, what's it called, the acid on the legs, the nurse was called Marion as well.
Yeah.
Yes. And I found a photo, I should have bought it, I found a photo of me in bed, and it had a plaster cast on it. And every now and again, when you move house and stuff, or you find a box and you've got the loft or something, and there's always a photo comes out, there's some really lovely photos. But I should have bought them, but then you'd be wanting to have that particular photo. So I might as well keep something to say to my children, look, I was on television.
Do you still have haunted nightmares about Marions?
No, they're very pleasant dreams, I have. Not nightmares at all. No, that was lovely. Again, when you're doing a series like London's Bird, you do have a responsibility to all of the, and I've realised this when you're not one of the main parts. You have a responsibility to all the other actors that come in. And I think Jenny, as you said, it is quite, when you're walking into someone else's set and they're all the family,
and they're all kind of like, oh, that's great, they all know each other very well, and they're, you know, familiarity, and they're playing scenes and dancing and this, that, and the other. You come in as a guest, it's quite difficult, and I think that at London's Burning, we were always very generous to the cast, which meant that whoever or whatever you were doing, you know, whatever part it was, it really helped the sense of, you know, just not to do with it necessarily, you know, the idea of family and stuff, but it just meant that the casting was quite high standard. You know what I mean?
And because
That's what I
I think
think.
going in as an actor, you feel safe, you do better work.
Yeah, because as soon as you're welcomed in, and it doesn't be, I mean, there again, I didn't do series 32, whatever it was, but I didn't last as long as that. But, you know, maybe by the end, maybe it was like, you know, you kind of methodically going through your paces, there's another script, it's kind of, but you know, those early days and those early series were very exciting, very exciting. There you go. I can carry on talking. There you go, Andrew.
What about your moonlighting? How did you manage to get one today?
Well, I did actually. I was moonlighting while I was doing London's Burning. I had a paper round. I kept a paper round going for years. I was up 6 o'clock, then I get to 8 o'clock. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much.
Nice one. Nice one, guys.
And can I have Ben, please? Can I have the recall? Yes. Yes. So, if you tell me how you managed to get yourself cast and why?
Why? We've all answered that question. You just turn up for an audition, mate. Don't you get the message? You're an out-of-work actor. Your agent says, go and turn up in this room and meet these people behind a desk and do your best. And hope for the best. And in all seriousness, I'll tell you exactly why I got the job. Because I was brilliant in the moment. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why. I was a house husband at the time. Do you remember that concept?
Yes.
When you're an out-of-work actor and you're the one that can look after the baby. Agent rings me. London's Burning Tuesday at 2:30. Get down there. I think, what? I've got the kid. My wife doesn't get home till 5, 8. No, I can't do that. He'll scream. Listen, this is your last chance, mate, you know, and this Paul Knight's a big guy and he wants you in that room. So I went, you know, in the family car, drove down to Bermondsey, wherever it was, and Leo's in the child, remember child seats? They still have them. They still exist, yeah, he's in the child seat, they're screaming at me. I go, yes, no, we'll be somewhere, yeah, you get ice cream or something. But anyway, I'm driving to Bermondsey and I get to the room and he's still screaming. I'm holding him like this. And he's screaming because he just wants to do what he wants to do at one, just be at home and play with cars and throw things. Anyway, we enter the room and he's still screaming at me. I'm thinking, what am I doing? I've never been to an audition with a child before, ever. You know, why? And then thankfully there's a receptionist at the building that said, I'll look after him. As a touch, and she actually warmed him, which was good, so I got rid of him. And so I could walk into the room, but as soon as I stepped in the room, Daddy! That was it. I had to now rescue her from him and bring him into the room. So I went into the room and sat down with him on my knee, going, no! And there's Paul Knight there, and there was a bunch of directors going, oh, Jesus Christ, what we got here? And he's there screaming at me, and then I think 90 reached over, White son, it's going to be all right. And actually, he sort of warms to this strange bloke.
Never seen anything like that.
Never seen that big before, and he's like this big hairy fellow, white fellow that was like being quite kind to him. And then I sort of handed it over. Leo said, yeah, have a look, he's a nice boy. And he shut up for 10 minutes. It was great. So the director could talk to me, I could read, had my eye on Leo, you know, and started reading and sort of improvising and going, come on, son. So I involved him in the improv, because you had to dream up stuff. And the next thing I knew, they said, "No, I want to read some scripts now," so I did a bit of that. And then by the end of it, they were quite pleased. They gave me back my son, who by now was gurgling like a little gurgling. It was like he was a happy land. I thought, where did I go wrong as a parent? Anyway, I left that building after 45 minutes to an hour thinking, what an exhausting day, darling. But at least I'll be a chaperone for the next 5 years because I've got a good kid. You know, he'll win hearts because he was quite cute on camera and stuff, I think, when he was in the house, but I don't know what it would have been like on set. Anyway, I went away thinking, that's it, forget about it. It's 1990. I think John Major was Prime Minister at the time. Is that right? Yeah, it was Christmas. And then I got a call in January saying, "You got the job." Fuck me! You know, it's one of those, what? I thought the kid had got a job. No, they want you. 6 episodes, lovely. 6 episodes, that's a lifesaver. When you're out of work actor, 6 episodes is a lifesaver because you're doing fringe theatre and plays here and there and earning like, we were talking about wage packets, like a wage packet that said £37.60 and stuff, you know, it's like, wow. And like for a week's work, yeah, so now you're in an episode where you're getting 10 times that. And it's a bit of work. And you're actually in a cast and you're being part of a central core of actors. It was a bit much for me, but never mind. The truth was that the first day on set, you're really welcomed. Yeah. You are like treated like an opera, like a fellow operative. We've got banter to do, we've got dialogue to do. Don't mess around with the lines actually by this stage. We've got beyond that. You'd stick to the script, but you could bend it a little bit to sort of blend with your own characterization that you're offering. And I had to be, what was I, recall with a photographic memory? Yeah. I didn't have any of that. I wasn't cast because I had a photographic, I was cast because that's what they'd written, you know? So I had to kind of memorize screeds of stuff, which I wasn't very good at, to be frank. So, but thankfully it was like really easy stuff to read and memorize. So that was how that was established. And I was called Mackenzie, was it?
Mackenzie.
Yeah.
Mackenzie. And I was married to a lady called Mrs. Mackenzie. She was Scottish, I wasn't, I was a Londoner. But I made sense of that. I didn't. But anyway, she left me and took the kids back to Scotland. So it must have come from Scotland. I didn't get any of that stuff. I really didn't get it. But anyway, I enjoyed my stay on it. And I think what I have in common with my forebears here is that I was killed off as well, except I got 112 episodes before. It took them a long time to find the time. Yes, I did 100, you know, what was a 6-episode job turned into like 112 or something. And I can tell you that what we had to do before we started shooting was do 2 weeks of training. Did you have to do that? Yeah. Down at Southwark Training Centre, you know, kind of turn up at 27 going, no, I wasn't 27, I was 32. But anyway, pretending to be young and fit and ready to pitch ladders and stuff. Look at me. But I need to do that fucking ladder, yeah, I can do that. And all these young bucks there who are 18 going, no, you're just working over there. Oh, you know, it really did my back in, I must admit. And I had to do this training 2 weeks with Andrew Casimir, who was the station officer, and he was so blasé about it. He turned up really late. He said, "Look, I'm not doing that." What, hoses? What? No, he'll do that. What? And of course, I didn't realise at that stage he was the station officer. And I was one of Blue Watch, so he actually didn't have to do any of that shit anyway, which was really irritating. So, like by lunchtime, he said, "Well, I'm off now. See you, Ben. See you tomorrow." You know what I mean? And I'd be there hanging around with these 18-year-old bucks, going, "What, hose? Yeah. Okay." So I think by my 2 weeks, I'd done enough hose laying, ladder pitching, and all those jolly things we had to do. But thankfully, once you're shooting the stuff, you got real firefighters to do it. So you could just do a nice close-up again. And then they'd get the guys who were really keen to stand in for us, actually, because they had nothing to do but watch us. So they were keen to display their ability at going, wow. with a hose, and I was keen to show my ability of looking like I could do it. You know, so that was all great stuff. And pitching ladders, we just do the close-up of going, ah, but they're the guys that go, and we get a close-up going, ah, yeah. So that was one of the joys of the job, was convincing people that you were capable of all this stuff, but actually you were frail, you were fragile, you ate too much at lunchtime, so by the time you had to do a stunt in the afternoon, you weren't good for it anyway. But at least there were firefighters around that would do the bloody thing, and they were keen. That's all I can say. I survived 100 and something episodes, and then I had the similar. By then, Paul Knight had long gone, actually. I think we had two producers beyond him. And I got that tap on the shoulder. We've got to kill somebody off. Do you want to volunteer? And I think all of us probably had that tap on the shoulder at different moments. And nobody kind of volunteered. Well, you know, I quite like it here now. I'm on certain junctions. You know, do I want to go after 10 years? But it got to the point where you were just bombarded with the suggestion that, look, the show's going to end anyway. You might as well have a bit of a death. So that's what happened. I sort of said, yeah, I'll go. And as long as it happened, glamorous death. Which, to this day, I'm asked about my heart attack. And I often like to reproduce it for them whenever they like. I saved a baby. I put it down a ladder. I was heaving, and it was smoky, and I insisted on going back up there, but Andrew kept, do you remember all this? No? The air station officer wouldn't let me go back up because I knew there was a baby in a cot, and I was halfway up the ladder. They pulled me down because you can't go up there, son. You haven't got any BA on. It's against the rules. And I said, no, I've got a baby to save. And they dragged me off and sent somebody with BA up there. So I'm just deflated, dispirited. And I collapsed and had a heart attack.
No.
Yeah, in the middle of the ground. Yeah. In the middle of the ground, yeah, this is a 10 pumper. And it's a 10 pumper, a huge inferno, you know, isn't it? Babies, everything, the whole works. And in the middle of the ground, and this is what I love about it, you got a big crane shot moment. When you get the crane shot moment, oh my God, you know, you've died and gone to heaven, sort of. And I had my heart attack by the fire engine, like this, crane shot, and I collapse in the middle of the ground. And the crane shot just comes in close, and it's fantastic. Oh my God. I had dreams about that moment, you know. I don't think I've ever watched it. And I milked it, and you go, and then somebody had to do the, what's it called? CPR, that's it, thank you. Somebody went mouth to mouth, and I had Sally doing it, I think. Did I have Sally? Yeah, I think so, yeah, I think it was, yeah. And I said, yeah, can we do that again? And again, and again. No, we didn't. We did it once, and he didn't survive. So that was my end, the whole arc of my journey. So thank you very much, and I'll shut up now and take questions.
So, any questions for Rico?
I wanted to know how you felt the difficult scenes with your son being unwell.
Very good question. I'm sorry I should have brought all that up. Actually, that was one of the joyful and most uplifting parts of the storyline, is that I got the privilege of introducing this British community and society to the condition of cystic fibrosis, which was a pretty unknown condition. It's a bit like in the black community, sickle cell. It's got that kind of stigma, and also hardly known about in the 90s. And actually to bring it to the fore was one of the privileges I had. So I think I had to do endless cystic fibrosis events, you know. But the fact that having a child, by sheer probability of inheritance, you're going to have 1 in 4 chance of dying by the time you're 16 was a pretty terrible curse for some young families. And the fact to have to portray that was quite hard when you've got your own children, because I had, fortunately, touch wood, really healthy, bouncy, you know, no issues health-wise children, but to have to portray a character that is in a marriage where they have gifted their youngest this disease that will kill them inevitably because of our gene strain was quite a hard thing to portray, because you had to put that at the back of your mind, deal with the fact that you're having to do all these chest expansion routines with the boy daily. It was quite hard to do, but you know, as an actor, you kind of think, well, at least I've got the privilege of actually portraying it and actually broadcasting the story and making. And now, from what I've learned, as it's 2025, I think the average child now has a far longer life expectancy. It's probably gone up to 30 or 40, whereas then it was a teen. So I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't know what CF was. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, that's a bit of a heavy one to do. But you know, you just do it. You just do it. You kind of feel it.
And quite good with planning Scouter as well.
Oh my God. He was again, he always had those big eyes that when the camera I thought, God, that is meant to be my child. I think my son always just got pissed off with that, I must admit, you know, because this guy had fantastic face, didn't he?
Yeah.
And his expression was also needy, but haunted. And you knew as an audience, these parents are trying to make him feel good, but actually he hasn't got long to live. You know? And he was very dependent on us too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So it was hard. It wasn't hard to play, but it was made easy by having a child that was that receptive to what we had to do in those scenes. So you know, I'd come in close and the camera would be on his face, and he'd go, "Oh my God, this is hard." You know, he's really given it large, and he did it quite naturally. That boy, you know, he just looked the part. Didn't have to say much. Yes, Daddy. Yeah, I can't help you with this, Daddy. And you can go, bloody hell, I don't have to act here. It's actually all there in front of me. So it was for me an honour to do.
The Hotel Fire, Series 11.
Thank you. Really? Was I there?
Yeah, with the hotel manager.
Oh, what about the hotel manager?
Oh yeah, he blamed you.
He blamed
Oh,
you.
well, that was a big court case, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you blamed me for what? Remind me.
For hitting
Punching.
you.
Oh, that's right. Did I cuff him?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't really cuff him, did I? I might have done, because he was being obstructive, and actually he was a dodgy operator, we discovered in the end. That's right, he's coming back to me now. He was a dodgy operator, and he didn't want the fire brigade involved because it would be exposed that he was a dodgy operator. And I think I cuffed him, but I had justification, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're asking me. To defend myself? Whoa! As recall, I said I did the right thing on a night. You know, he was trying to prevent us from doing our job, saving 100 or so people's lives, but he wanted to stop us because, like certain people in the governments now, want to cover up things. And I wouldn't let him. So I cuffed him. So, and I think probably nowadays he'd probably be he'll be on trial, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I think so, because you're not allowed to cuff people, really. But even if there's a justification which actually has a long-term benefit for the rest of the community, but I got away with it in the end, didn't I?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did. Because he was at fault.
Did I get caution?
No.
Bloody hell, I don't know how I got away with that.
So I've got another question. Besides, before your death, you had a few injuries. The one main injury I wanted to know is the scene where the wall come down. You got caught up in the wall, where you was buried underneath the
Was I
brickwork.
buried?
Yeah, you was buried underneath the brickwork.
The brickwork?
It was you, Alan, and
Oh,
Jan.
right, yeah.
Were you
Well,
paid as well? Oh yes, you
was
were.
I in there as well? God,
Yeah,
right.
you were.
Well, probably what happened was a lot of polystyrene was on me, okay, and a lot of sort of talcum powder,
Yeah.
and then I brushed it aside and got out of it. But the rest of it I really can't remember. You know what? It's really hard to answer these questions because being in 100+ episodes, I was probably in about 80 fires and a few complications like that, and I can't really remember specifics. to be honest.
Recall.
Recall, which is a complete other travesty. When you think about it, it's a travesty, isn't it? Oh, I got the job up, do you know? Hello.
Hello. When you shaved your beard off, was it you as a person they asked you to do it, or did they just do it for the sake of it?
No, I had to. No. It was a new directive in the fire brigade that facial hair was now. It was not allowed. What's the word? It's not allowed because apparently it conflicted with the seal of the BA, so it was a health and safety issue that you couldn't have facial hair, and.
But you fought against it.
But I fought against it. Recall. I fought them. Law and law one and all that. But it was actually the new law in the fire brigade. But I insisted on keeping the beard, didn't I? And I think the station officer said, it's got to be off by Thursday or you're out, kind of stuff, you know.
And they all rounded up on you.
And they all, yeah, I think on a night shift they all shaved my beard in the dorm, yeah. No, I was quite. I was pissed off myself because I liked having a beard, you know what I mean? That's how I live my life. But it was just one of those things you do as an actor, isn't it? You lose your facial hair, son.
I try all the time.
I've got one. When you had Vernon as your lodger, you must have had so much laugh filming and seeing coming back.
It was very hard to keep a straight face working with that actor. You know what I mean? Because he called me Recall. And he'd be very particular about the way he lived in my accommodation. And oh God, but the way his delivery was always just hysterical. And his friendship with Poison Piers actually was another thing that made us all think, what a weirdo. But of course, because I needed a lodger, he was there all the time. And I had to step over. Yeah, it's all right, Recall. I used your tea bag, sorry. He lived in a van normally, but yes, I provided an accommodation against my better judgment. What a reminder, fantastic, yeah.
Sorry, you also had sick manager with you as well for a little while.
Did I?
Why did what's the name kick him out?
Oh, maybe he got kicked out, yes, he cycled round to recalls, yes.
Didn't he
With
get
his
kicked out?
bicycle clips.
So you rearranged your living room around as well.
That's right. I forgot all the things.
Oh, that bit where he comes in, where they kidnapped and tied up.
Nutty Noreen.
Yeah.
Not Natty Nori.
No, oh God, the list goes on. And I often think about how sad it is for my last love interest. But I don't know whether she had any more scenes in the show to find out that Recall had popped his clogs. Because we're going to go and open a pub somewhere, weren't we? Is that the storyline?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Anyway, who knows? She'd probably open a pub without me. Any more questions?
Any more questions for Ben? No?
Speak now, my fellow peace.
Would you like to introduce your friend, please?
Oh yes, sorry, almost forgotten. Tracy Lapine Smith, step on down. Oh, what?
Can I stay here?
Oh, she wants to stay up there. Tracy, who I was in a show called The Mousetrap last year.
Oh, yes,
Randomly.
Yeah.
I played the major in it. And one evening, I came off stage. I came to the stage door, and who should be Tracy, who remembered me from London's Burning 20 years ago. She was one of the chief stunt women on the show. The double for most of the women characters that were in car crashes or conflagrations and rolled out of hedges and buildings or whatever. There she is in person. She came to see The Mousetrap with me in it, with her daughter, who's now doing stage management training in London. So there you go. There's Tracy. So if you want to ask her questions about stunt doubling, interested? Is anybody interested in stunt doubling? Yeah, it's a fantastic world. It is.
Amazing.
Yeah, to do
Yeah.
Not really. Okay. No. Reticent.
Thank you. And for quite a few of us, or for quite a few of the cast members, there's one question that I want to ask each one of you is, without London's Burning, it wouldn't be without Paul Knight and also Jack Rosenthal. So, can anyone mention anything about either Jack or Paul?
You first, you know them longer than I do.
Well,
You're going to tell the story.
I thought that was a scene.
Yes.
Um,
To the moon.
Yeah, no. Jack Rosenthal was famously married to Maureen Lipman. Yeah. Did you know that? Yeah. So, and he was always known originally for some really great play for today's and things like that. But when Paul was talking to us originally, when he first got this part, he was saying that this show has really, really had some fantastic research because Rosenthal, Jack, as I called him, it was his name, he had really spent a lot of time getting all these great stories, which is why, although some people think, no, that's all contrived and that stuff, apparently, certainly in the early stages, before when he handed over the reins of the writing, all of those stories were based on genuine, farfighters. Firefighters, genuine anecdotes and stories, So we were, really thrilled about it. And wherever you go, Paul and I would always make out that, especially when you're meeting other firemen, that they would make out that they were the real person who it was based on. Wherever you went, there'd always be a firefighter who'd say, I'm Vaseline, that story, that was me. And so every single firefighter in the whole of Britain had all spoken to Jack Rosenthal, but he did have some really good contacts. He was, Paul Knight was a great man and genuinely cared and looked after his folks. As I said, when I was killed off, it was a mutual decision, apparently. And he let you know that. And no, before he died, he did actually come up to me and say, I'm sorry, it didn't quite work out that way. I'm still going on about it, aren't I? I do remember actually, and I'm just going to tell you this, which isn't necessarily about anything, but Rosenthal used to come down to the set every now and again. So one of the first scenes that we shot, as part of that original Blue Watch, I was one of the nominated drivers. Yeah. So we'd done all the stuff up the ladder and down the lap run and all that business. But when you're suddenly confronting with this giant, great big machine, yeah, and you've got all that water in the back, and you're doing a scene and there's a camera strapped to the front there, there's a handheld camera there, you've got the director there, you've got the actors in the back feeding, and I'm giving it okay, and action. And I'm driving up and down the Jamaica Road, around and up and back, and around and up. I'm throwing my lines over my shoulders. Yeah, that's all right. You say that. Yeah, shut up, Chris. All right. We got to the end of it. The water. Okay, can we set up again, please? I'll just have a look. We're coming back from the shout. The shout was called when you're out on the thing. So I've been driving it as if the two tones are going, I'm going 45 miles an hour down the Jamaica Road with this thing. We're supposed to just be leisurely driving. It was the adrenaline, and no one, including the director, no one had actually, and that's when Jack Rosenthal said, I did write it, it's on the script, coming back from the shout. But everybody, because we were so excited, the adrenaline, So there you go. And also, when I was killed off, I thought it'd be great because I knew all the production people. And I said, listen, it'd be a great treat. Let's do a joke. On the funeral, I'll be in the coffin, yeah? Don't tell anyone. And then I'll pop out and there'll be a great laugh and everybody going, because it was my last day, So I thought I was just I was sad to go, so I wanted to come in. So they said, okay, get here really early. We'll get you in the coffin. This is true. We're getting a bit of coffee. I thought, what time do you want me there? Well, you know, normally you start shooting at 7:30 or 8 o'clock or something, wouldn't you? So I got there really, really early, and I lived in just outside Brixton, so I could get to Jamaica Road quite quickly. So they snuck me in there. They kept on coming back and going, yeah, just get in the car, going to be here soon. I was in disbelief. This is going to be a good wheeze. This is going to be a great car. And they were all, this is bloody heavy, isn't it? And then I was going to pop out when they put me down, and all, you know, you have to start all over again. But I did say to them, you know, because you're going to have to set up again, you know. No, great idea, Rob. Yeah, we just let it go again. Of course, there was no intention, they had no intention of doing this, they just wanted to keep me in this company. I was only for 2.5 hours. That's how they treated me at the end. So the joke was on me, actually. Anyway, true story.
I've not got any stories, but I just wanted to embellish the Jack Rosenthal thing. Is that I actually, when I auditioned for the part, I actually lived in Muswell Hill, around the corner from Jack and Maureen by sheer fluke. But I did hear stories from the neighbourhood, as it were, that Jack and Maureen had an au pair or something that was going out with a fireman at Park Road fire station up the road. So of course whenever he came round he had lots of stories to tell, and that's what kind of fed into Jack's interest, because this bloke was a bloke. I mean, all firefighters are blokish blokes, aren't they? Let's face it, we're all blokish blokes, and the women are, well, they're women firefighters. But anyway, the point was, he had all his stories probably had that ring of truth with a bit of embellishment that he found fascinating about their existence. Everything was like right on the edge of like being disaster, but we got them away from disaster, and this happened and that happened. And of course he built up a real body of stories which were fantastic. Some of them apocryphal, I should imagine, but of course they happened all over. So he was almost like a curator of all these great stories. And of course, I suppose when he met Paul Knight, it was like, we could make a show out of this, because these are real people doing real things that we don't know what's happening behind those red doors. You know, they could be just having a party, which sometimes they were. Because I do remember, that's one of the early things I remember about Doc Head, being told that this is where the bar used to be. You know, there was a part in the fire station where back in the day, back in the, you know, the early 20th century, late 19th century, there would be like a bar in the fire station. So, you know, when you time off, you just get completely hammered, you know, until the bells went down, and the only ones that could go on the shout were the ones that were the least drunk or the most sober on those particular occasions. I don't know when they introduced the bar ban. It's probably back in the 70s, I would imagine. But I'm sure they still exist somewhere around the land. Driving. Yeah, jumping in the car, yes. I've only had a few scotches. But just to tell you about Paul Knight, he was like 6'6", one of these big, brash and really friendly, and you know, unintentionally avuncular blokes. And I think he turned up on set at least once a month, you know, and just glad-handed everybody. So, and occasionally, I don't know what happened to you, he'd say, boys, I'm taking you out to lunch. You don't have to have the 2 courses that the caterers are doing. We're going to go round to, there was a nice Italian round the corner, I think. So we'd all troop round there to forego the huge catering lunch on set. We said, come on, we go round to, and so we'd corralled there for 3 hours, and we said, shouldn't we be back on set at 2? No, don't worry, I've got some more bottles coming through, you know, that's, but hold on, I think I've got about a page and a half. Don't worry, it'll be shot. Don't forget, we shot at 7, so you're already got a few hours. So you end up kind of half cut doing your scene at 6 o'clock when you're meant to break at 7, but never mind. What I'm saying is, this only happened about once a month, but they were they were epic afternoons, I've got to say. And he always made it fun, you know. He always made us think, right, we're family, we're a big family, I'll look after you. Do you remember that phrase? We'll look after you. Whatever you want, just come to me. But you know, you think, I want more money. That was all, that was a bit of a no-no. That was a no-no when you came that. No, we're strapped for cash.
That sort of family.
You know, we're not that sort of family, you know, we're not the family of mum and dad and all that. We're the family of, you know, cinema, television. But no, don't ask for more money. But, you know, having said all that, he was just a very canny producer, let's face it. He was responsible. I only learned all this when I went to his memorial a couple of years ago. I don't know whether you heard about the memorial. He was responsible for some of the most iconic television shows of 80s Britain, you know, Robin of Sherwood, for example. I mean, the list goes on, you know, so London's Burning was down the line in his panoply of stuff, and he did have a lot of cast that sort of, you know, rolled over into other projects. But the fact is, what was key about the shows that he did was that there's incredible camaraderie, chemistry that was portrayed on screen, irrespective of people's sizes or colours or kind of sensibilities. He somehow created casts that you could see on screen were well integrated as human beings. There were teams. And I do remember from Robin and Sherwood thinking, I'm not really interested in Robin Hood stories, but actually, when you see Ray Winstone hanging about with these, you know what I mean? And they're all like, there's a banterism that seemed to be endemic in the show, and I think that's what London's Burning was about. You know, like, I mean, I didn't know all about the workshopping stuff, which actually explains a lot, because there was an emphasis on the integration of people and try to make it seem real, trying to make it seem like you're real. This is the job you do. This is, you care for each other as a team, and you've got a job to do, and that's what's your priority. And all those things are in a package. And I think that's what Paul brought to the table, really. I just want you all guys to get on. I want to feel the kind of connection that you have. You know, you maybe dislike each other, but you know, at the end of the day, you've got to be in that bloody truck together. You've got to be in that smelly truck and go to places to save lives. So, anyway, I'm what I gather. And he was still making programs, I believe, you know, on other projects. He was passing of a great man. Yeah. That's what I say. Yeah. Well, perhaps a bit of a bastard sometimes. In negotiating, I didn't like to talk about.
I'd just like to share a quick Paul Knight story. My situation echoed Ben's. I was a house husband, did it for 10 years. My wife's a teacher. And I'd done my first appearance, season 4, with the fight, the wedding. That was that. And things were tight, because you've got a child to look after. Nothing's happening. And I just said to my wife, I said, you know what? I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to ring up Paul Knight and just see anything happening. So I took a risk and said, yeah, can I have Paul Knight's office, please? And they actually put me through. And I said, hello, Paul. Nicholas Harrison. I was in series 4. I played George the Fireman's brother-in-law. Anything happening? And he then said the words which you can't believe it. You think it's cliche, but when you actually hear them, you know, the choir goes off in your head, because what he said next to me was, you haven't heard? You're coming back, mate. What? Yeah, you've got the scripts yet, have you? No. Don't worry, mate. No, they'll come out. And the bloody scripts did come out, and I was in 4 episodes of season 7, and got to the wrap party, got to hang about with these lovely people, and it was, you were family. And he came up, put his arm around you, you were bloody brilliant, you were, mate. Love it. I'll have you back on there. Didn't happen. I tried to write a series based on my two characters. I had nothing to lose because when you're a subsidiary character like that, you're just tied to the main fireman. And just like married, you're gone when you've served the story. But I had some just dealings with him, wrote him a script, I learnt a lot. But it was just to be part of it, and the fact that we're talking about this all these years later, all remembering those moments when we walked in and we looked and we saw the faces, and there wasn't, oh no, you sit over there. You were there, you did the job, your job was to entertain, and we're still talking about it all these years later. We could do with this sort of programme again.
Yeah.
Thank you.